We were sworn in Richmond, took the oath of office, went to Norfolk for recruit training. Great Lakes was closed. That was after World War I. They closed Great Lakes. So Norfolk and San Diego were the two stations were still open for recruit training. And the recruit training was 9 weeks. After 9 weeks, they temporarily transferred us to a transport, a USS Chalmont. And the Chalmont was a transport, and it happened to be in the Navy Yard at the time. So when I got through, when we graduated from training, we went to the Chalmont, and we helped clean the ship and paint and get it overhaul and everything. And when the ship got ready to go back to sea, we went to San Diego via Panama Canal, via Cuba, and to San Pedro. But on the way around, after we got through the Panama Canal, they posted where we would go. And my brother and I was assigned to the USS Oklahoma. So when we got into San Pedro, by boat we went to the Oklahoma, and we were both in the 3rd Division. It was a surprise. Whoever thought that anyone would attack us? Church service began at 8 o'clock. Those that weren't going to church were in their bunks. I was in my bunk, third decks down. I heard the alarm. I didn't pay any attention to it. I took my time because it was just another drill to me. So I got out of my bunk, went up there, went all the way back. And when I got to top side, I saw the Jap plane coming up the channel. And I'd been on the Asiatic station. I knew it was a Jap. And I immediately went up to my gun, the 50 caliber machine gun. And guess what? The ready boxes were locked. I couldn't get the ammunition to the gun to start firing. Finally, the gunner's mate come up. I says, you got to get these ready boxes open. And he finally did. And we finally got the gun going. They were like bees. I could see the pilot just as plain as I'm looking at you, coming right up the channel. I was on the flying bridge. I was up here. The plane was down. I could see the expression on his face.
So the plane was actually lower than...
Oh yes, it was a duck shoot. It was really a duck shoot. They fired anyone they want. For example, they only lost 7 planes on the first attack. The reason, they didn't have any opposition. On the second run, they lost over 24 planes. So that tells you what would have been happening if we all had been at general quarters, if we'd all been on our guns. You start to think, we could have done a hell of a lot of damage. We'd have had a lot of casualties. We'd have had a lot of constructions and all of that. But just think, if that whole fleet, it had 10 minutes warning, the Oklahoma took, I think, about 6 torpedoes right off the bat, right on the first ship over. The Utah, that's the ship that I was shooting on. The plane was coming in on our starboard side, and I was firing on the plane that launched the torpedo. And that torpedo hit that Utah just below the waterline. And at that gangway, there were officers and men returning from the Liberty under that when that torpedo went off. And I can still see them going up in the air like dolls. And that ship just went right over. And The men that survived just followed the ship as it went over, and it's still capsized there. When you stop and think about it, could it have been prevented? I don't know. Could it have been less damage, less loss to life? Yes, if we'd had the notice. If we'd have been right in place in Pearl Harbor with all guns manned, the illustration that I made, the comparison that I made, the 7 planes that they lost on the first run, the second run, they lost 24. That tells you.
Right. Right.
If all those men would have been at their gun stations when that attacked, it'd have been a different ball game.
Being stationed on the ship's flybridge, I could observe the entire harbor. The Japanese planes were like a swarm of bees all over the place, flying at will, attacking the ships in the harbor. The nearest ship to my vantage point was the battleship Utah, which was astern of us. I saw and was firing on the plane that launched the torpedo that sank the Utah. When the torpedo was launched, there was an officer's motorboat alongside the gangway unloading officers who were returning to the ship. The torpedo struck the ship below the waterline, under the boat, and the gangway. I can still see the boat, the boat crew, and the passengers being blown hundreds of feet in the air, resembling miniature dolls. The Utah capsized at its berth in a matter of minutes, where she still lies. Those crew members who managed to go topside followed the hull of the ship as she rolled over, then swam ashore. At the time of the attack, we reacted. It was reaction to survive. When it was over, we were stunned and shocked as to what had happened. As I recall, there was very little said. We all seemed to be preoccupied with our thoughts, which did not lend to adequate verbal expression. What else can I say? The memory will live in those that were there. Will it be on those that follow? That is the question that is utmost in our minds on this anniversary. We buried an old Navy veteran today. Unlike the poem, the USS Oklahoma veteran, not all combat-killed Americans are buried where family can go to visit and remember. No one can visit Donald Robert McLeod, but he is not forgotten. If money spends in heaven, someday Chief Petty Officer Joseph Triolo, U.S. Navy retired, will repay his friend $2.
Yeah.